Students, let's continue with Robert Browning's dramatic monologue Rabbi Ben Ezra. As we have seen in previous videos that Rabbi, a Jewish scholar, Ben Ezra is talking about the God's design, the creation of universe as it is perfectly created by God, and he is showing his deep faith in the benevolence, magnificence and the creation of God. So let's see what he further says in this dramatic monologue. Today we'll begin with stanza 23. Not on the vulgar mass called work must sentence pass, things done that looked the eye and had the prize, over which from level stand the low world laid its hand, found straightway to its mind, could value in a trice. Students, look at the very first line. There is a term, the vulgar mass. This vulgar mass is for the common material work which is visible to us, which is tangible. So here the Rabbi declares that the worth of man's life, the use of human life or the value of the human life is not to be judged by the vulgar mass, is not to be judged by the visible, tangible, commercial, physical output which got material reward. These achievements are not difficult to evaluate for the common people of the world because all of them have a low level of ambition and ideal. That took the eye, look at the third line, that took the eye and had the prize. Means people can just very easily, common people, they can just evaluate it only on the basis of physical appearance, only on the basis of the material gains. But these achievements are not difficult to evaluate for the common people of the world who have a low level of ambition and ideal, and they can easily recognize them because they are all oriented towards materialistic gain. They do not have the capacity to appreciate anything beyond actual or physical achievements, which are in reality of a low order just like them. The low word laid its hand, means that the low word is only capable to recognize the physical or materialistic gains. The phrase lay its hand is for to easily recognize, and I'll repeat, the low word is for the common people. In the second last line, Rabbi is saying that the low word laid its hand, means the common people easily recognized. Then found straightway to its mind, could value in a trice. Trice means instantly. The people could easily and immediately understand. Found straightway means, straightway to their mind means the word could easily and immediately understand and appreciate the visible, tangible, materialistic, physical output of a man's life. So, in this way, that Rabbi is talking about actually the value of the mental maturity which comes with the old age, and here he is talking about in general about the common people that they are not capable of realizing or analyzing the value of the mental maturity that is much more valuable in comparison to the materialistic gains or the physical maturity. Rabbi further says, but all the world's coer's thumb and finger failed to plumb, so passed in making up the main account, all instincts immature, all purposes unsure, that weighed not as his work, yet swelled the man's amount. The common people can appreciate only the tangible output of a man, as it is expressed in the previous stanza, and the common people, they are unable to discern, to know the hidden motivations, the inner motivations which lie behind the human achievements, and so they ignore them in their assessment of a human being. And Rabbi says that they have too crude an understanding and too rough a standard. Words coerce thumb and finger. The coerce thumb and finger is for the rough and ready standards of measurement. Rough and ready standards of the measurement which are followed by the common people. And so he said the common people have too crude an understanding, means they have a coerced thumb, and too rough a standard to be able to measure the hidden impulses in a man, in human being, the undeveloped instincts, the indefinite aims, noble but too vague and indistinct to be actually realized, are not considered by the world as a part of man's achievement, as he says in the third and fourth line. But in God's eye, what is there? All instincts immature, all purposes unsure, means all these doubts, all these uncertainties, all these vaguely formed ideals, all these undeveloped impulses matter. They increase the sum total of a man's achievement in divine kingdom. So here, that weighed not as his work, yet swelled the man's amount, means they increase the sum total of a man's achievement in the divine kingdom. Or he said that these very things, they have increased the worth of man in God's estimation, we can say. God's estimation of man. So in this way, here the basis of Browning's optimism is the belief that God will judge us not merely by the achievements but also by the efforts. So in this way, Rabbi keep on expressing his deep faith in God's design, and the same is here in the stanza 25. He says, thoughts hardly to be packed into a narrow act, fancies that broke through language and escaped, all I could never be, all men ignored in me, this I was worth to God, whose wheel the pitcher shaped. Rabbi Ben Ezra says that in the mind of a man, or we can say in the human mind, there are thoughts and ideals which are too vast, which are too high, that they cannot be packed. As in the first line he says, hardly to be packed. They cannot be packed into a narrow act, into a small act. I'll repeat, Rabbi says that in the human mind there are thoughts and ideals which are too high, too vast to be translated into, to be packed into limited scope of visible acts, or we can say limited scope of acts which are visible and tangible in this physical world. He further says, fancies that broke through language and escape, means a man has lofty ideas which escape description, which broke through language, means they escape description. They cannot be expressed in other words. Thus, others are unaware of those fancies and those lofty ideas. A man might have high aspirations which he is unable to realize in concrete terms, and all these hidden aspects in a human being are ignored by the common people while assessing his worth. all men ignored in me. He says that the common people, they are unable to judge my true value. Thus, I was worth to God. But God takes cognizance of the unrealized ideas of man. For God has shaped man to be what he is, whose wheel the pitcher shaped, means the wheel of my life is shaped by the great master, that is God. Here he says that God has shaped man to be what he is. God molds man on the wheel of time, we can say, as a potter molds a pitcher on his wheel. So he is talking about his faith in God and his wheel, which has shaped the pitcher of human life. So here the comparison of God to the potter is a famous scriptural metaphor. So in this way, here Rabbi is just giving expression to his faith in God, because whatever is happening in his life, it is all God's design, and God better knows about the value of the human life. In stanza 26, the Rabbi continues with the metaphor of the potter's wheel for God's creation of this universe. He says, note that potter's wheel, that metaphor, and feel why time spends fast, why passive lies our clay, though to whom fools propound. Students, look at the word fool. Fool is here again for the common people who judge the human life only on the basis of physical and tangible things. When the wine makes its round, since life fleets, all is change. The past gone, sees today. Rabbi says that he emphasizes, we can say, the significance of the metaphor of the potter's wheel. Man should feel and realize in his heart that he is like passive clay in the hands of God, who is potter, and he uses time as his wheel. And God gives a certain shape to man, to human being, on the wheel of rapidly passing time. This scheme of things is, however, interpreted or explained differently by the fools, by the common people who live by physical pleasure only. They say that as life is short and constantly undergoing change, so we should clutch on to the present. When the wine makes it round is to talk about the short span of life. So we should clutch to the present and enjoy it as much as possible. They say that past is beyond recall. We cannot call the past back, and no one knows about the future. Thus, we should make merry while we can. So, since life fleets, means life flies away, all is change takes place, the past is gone, past is just buried, we cannot recall it back, so seize today. So it is better to think of the present and make the best of it. So in this stanza again, Rabbi is giving expression to his deep faith in God's design. We'll continue with the next stanzas in our next video. Thank you.